The invitation said, black tie, executive only. I wasn't supposed to be there, not according to my dad. Your attendance would be a mistake, he told me. Not joking, not subtle, just clear. So I didn't argue, didn't push back. I just said, okay. That night I arrived anyway, not to prove anything, not to be seen, just to be present. Later, I watched as security stopped him at the entrance. Sir, this section is reserved. He frowned. Reserved for who? The guard smiled slightly. And that's when everything changed. My father cared about one thing more than anything else. Perception. How things looked. Who was in the room. Who should be in the room. And more importantly, who didn't belong. I learned that early. Not through arguments. Not through anything obvious. Just patterns. Conversations that ended when I spoke. Introductions that felt slightly adjusted. Like my presence needed to be explained. Or minimized. He wasn't loud about it. That's what made it harder to point out. It was subtle, controlled, but consistent. He had built a life around a certain image. Professional, polished, selective. And everything around him had to fit that. My siblings did. Naturally. They followed the path he understood. The one he respected. I didn't. Not because I was trying to be different. Because I didn't see things the same way he did. I chose a different direction. A quieter one. Less visible. Less approved. And over time, that difference became distance. We still spoke. Still showed up for the same events. But it wasn't the same. There was always a layer. Unspoken, but present. So when he announced his retirement party, it wasn't surprising that it was something formal, exclusive, carefully curated. The guest list is limited, he said one evening, casually, like it wasn't important, like it didn't mean anything beyond logistics. But I understood what that meant, because in his world, lists weren't just lists. They were statements. And whether you were on them said everything. He didn't tell me directly at first. Not in a way that sounded like a decision. It came up in conversation, casually, almost like an afterthought. The event is going to be very specific, he said. Certain people, certain expectations. I nodded, didn't interrupt, because I knew where this was going. It's not really your kind of setting, he added. Still calm, still measured, like he was explaining something practical, not personal. I let the silence sit for a second. Then asked the question anyway. Are you saying I shouldn't come? He didn't hesitate. Yes, he said, just like that. No softening, no adjustment. It would be better if you didn't attend. The words weren't loud, but they were clear. You'd be out of place, he continued. And I don't want that to reflect poorly. Reflect poorly. I repeated that part in my head once. Not because I didn't understand it, because I did, completely. I didn't argue, didn't defend myself, because this wasn't new, just more direct. All right, I said. Simple. No edge. No reaction. That seemed to satisfy him. He nodded slightly, like the conversation had resolved exactly the way he expected. And just like that, it was done. Or at least that's what he thought. Because for me, that wasn't the end of the conversation. It was the moment something else started forming. Not out of frustration, not out of needing to prove anything, just clarity. I didn't need to be included, but I also didn't need to stay away. And for the first time, those two things didn't feel the same. I didn't mention anything after that. Didn't push. Didn't question him again. Because there wasn't a point. He had already decided what he believed. About the event. About me. And about where I fit into everything. Correcting that in conversation wouldn't have changed anything. It never had before. So I left it alone. But what he didn't know was that my life hadn't stayed where he last understood it. Not even close. I hadn't followed the same path as everyone else. Didn't take the roles he valued. Didn't build something that could be explained in a single sentence at a dinner table. Mine was quieter, less visible, but it wasn't smaller. If anything, it was more deliberate. I didn't talk about it much. Not because I was hiding it, because I didn't need to present it. The people who needed to know already did. And the rest Didn't change anything. The venue for his retirement event wasn't random. It was selected, reserved, structured around access. And access wasn't given lightly. Not at that level. Not without connection, or influence, or ownership. I had been to that space before. More than once. Not as a guest, but as someone who understood how it operated. What was allowed, what wasn't, and who made those decisions. I never mentioned that to him. Never corrected his assumptions about where I belonged in that environment. Because again, there was no need. Until now. The night of the event arrived. Formal. Exactly as he described it. I got ready without overthinking it. No hesitation. No second-guessing. Because I wasn't attending to be included. I was going because I had every right to be there. And this time, that was enough. The venue looked exactly the way I remembered it. Polished floors, soft lighting, conversations carried in low, controlled tones. Everything designed to feel intentional, exclusive. I walked in without stopping. No questions, no hesitation, because nothing about my presence required explanation. The main reception area was already full, groups forming and shifting, people greeting each other like they belonged there, like they understood the space. I didn't look for him right away. There was no urgency in that. Instead, I moved through the room slowly, observing, taking in the details, the structure of it, who was where, which areas were open, which ones weren't, because spaces like this always had layers, and the deeper you went, the more selective it became. Toward the back, past the main hall, was the entrance to the private section. Restricted access. Separate. Quieter. More controlled. I paused just long enough to acknowledge it, then kept moving. Because I didn't need to go there. Not yet. A few minutes later, I saw him, standing near the entrance to that section, talking to someone, confident, composed. Exactly the way he always presented himself in environments like this. He finished the conversation and turned toward the restricted area. Didn't slow down. Didn't check anything. Just walked forward like it was expected. That's when it happened. Security stepped in. Subtle. Professional. But firm. "Sir," one of them said, holding a hand slightly out. "This area requires access clearance." My father stopped. Not confused. Just surprised. Like it was a small misunderstanding that would be corrected quickly. "I'm with the event," he replied. Calm. Certain. The guard didn't move. Didn't react. Just waited. And that's when the moment started to shift. At first, he didn't take it seriously. You could see it in the way he stood there. Relaxed. Certain. Like this was just a minor delay. "I'm the host," he said. "There's been a mistake." The guard didn't argue. Didn't step back. He simply repeated himself. "This section requires verified access." My father's expression shifted slightly. Not anger. Just impatience. He reached into his pocket, pulled out his phone, like he was about to prove something. Like this could be resolved with a quick call. But before he could dial, the guard's attention moved past him. To me. A brief glance. Then a nod. Subtle, but clear. My father noticed. Followed the line of sight. Turned. And for the first time that night, he actually looked at me. Not casually. Not in passing. Directly. I didn't step forward right away. Didn't interrupt. Because the moment wasn't about confrontation. It was about recognition. I walked toward them slowly. Same pace. Same calm. The room around us hadn't changed. But the focus had. "What's going on?" he asked. The tone was different now. Less certain. More the where. I stopped a few feet away. Close enough to be part of the conversation. Not close enough to take it over. "They're following protocol," I said. Simple. Neutral. He frowned slightly. "What protocol?" he asked. I held his gaze for a second. Then answered. "The one tied to access approval." No emphasis. No explanation beyond that. Because I didn't need to say more. The guard remained still. Waiting. And in that moment, everything connected. Not all at once, but enough. Because for the first time, he wasn't in control of the space anymore. He was subject to it. And now, He understood that I wasn't. He didn't push past them. That was the first thing I noticed. For a moment, it looked like he might, like he'd insist, override it, turn the situation back into something he controlled. But he didn't, because something had already shifted. Not in the room, in him. He looked at me again, longer this time, trying to play something that didn't match what he expected. "What do you mean?" he asked. Quieter now. I didn't step closer, didn't change my tone. "It's a restricted section," I said. "Access is assigned." He nodded slowly, not because he agreed, because he was processing. And for the first time, he wasn't leading the moment. He was inside it, trying to understand it. The guard remained where he was, calm, neutral, no urgency, because from his perspective, everything was exactly as it should be. My father glanced toward the entrance again, then back at me. The confidence wasn't gone, but it wasn't the same. It had changed shape, less certain, more measured. I didn't explain anything further, didn't offer details, because this wasn't about proving anything. It was about clarity. He had set a standard, defined who belonged, who didn't, what fit, what didn't. And now, he was standing in a space where those same rules applied, just not the way he expected. I stepped back slightly, giving the moment space, not stepping away, just not holding it, because I didn't need to. He looked at the guard once more, then nodded, small, almost unnoticeable, and turned away. No argument, no scene, just acceptance. I watched him walk back toward the main room, and for the first time, I didn't feel out of place, because I wasn't trying to fit into a standard anymore. I was standing in one that didn't need his approval, and that was enough.